Let's get up going from the start. Hello and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profit. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women and men around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients, because many can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, eliminate the lengthy, chaotic sales cycle to ignite your sales and unleash lasting profits. So you have the opportunity as well to join me later in the show. And oh, look at here. We've got our wonderful host and guest today. I'm so excited because I was going to wing it. I'm going to tell you right now, I completely messed up. And Tom, who is so gracious, jumped on when I sent him a meeting invite that had the wrong time. And I was going to talk about how you deal with curveballs. But Tom is here, and we're going to talk about why list building. Actually, last week, we shared why list building is the perfect fast track to grow your sales. And today, Tom Ruwitch and I will be sharing what are effective processes for meaningful sales supporting content creation. Now, I want to tell you about Tom, and then I'm going to make sure he's a co-host. He is a consultant, content marketing expert, and the founder of Story Power Marketing. He is amazing. Coaches, consultants, and other experts hire Tom to power up their stories because most dish out the same old boring content that turns off prospects, and then they feel frustrated and stuck. So Tom helps them transform content from boring to brilliant, turning marketing from frustrating to fun, and convert results from pitiful to profitable. So Tom, I am so glad to have you here today. Welcome to the show. Okay, so I'm going to
just a second. Here I am, winging it, trying to make things work. Give me a moment, Lynn. Keep welcoming and doing your thing while I pull up the presentation, because we did have a little bit of a scheduling mix up, and I'm glad I saw your note that said to join you. I am here. I am ready to go, but I'm running about a moment behind. But I caught the curveball. So
there you go.
Yeah.
That's what's great, isn't it? So you just go with the flow. So let's talk about what Tom's going to share today. Consistent, reliable, and repeatable sales are founded when well thought out and planned systems, an essential roadmap to follow to serve more clients while generating more business. Your core sales content is the strategic hub of your roadmap. By the end of today's show, Tom is going to share the definition of meaningful sales supporting content, the effective processes to create sales content, how you leverage tools to create meaningful sales content. And the bottom line here is that creating your roadmap to sales success is quicker and easier when you plan ahead, using the right tools to aid your journey. Having strategic content ready at your fingertips ensures a great experience for your clients and for you. So, Tom, hey, are you about ready to go?
I am. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk today, Lynn, thank you, by the way, about how to transform your content from prospect repelling to sales generating. And as you said, some simple to implement strategies to make that happen. I'm going to start by sharing with you one of my very, very favorite quotes of all time from Eugene Schwartz. Copy is not written, copy is assembled. That guy there is Eugene Schwartz. Fuzzy photo, but he was a sharp guy. He was one of the great direct response marketers of his day. He was a copywriter who made millions of dollars for his clients and for himself. And this quote, copy is not written, copy is assembled, is great news for you if you ever suffer from writer's block, if you ever feel stuck. If you've tried in the past to create emails, social posts, other content to sell, to drive action, but you fear it's just not working, or if content creation feels like a painful slog. It's not a fun activity you look forward to. I know so many people who feel that way. They're doing email as a sense of obligation, or they're doing social posts as a sense of obligation, and not a fun activity that they look forward to. Eugene Schwartz never suffered from writer's block, so he claims. I believe him. And today we're going to talk about how that could possibly be so, and how you can create great content without suffering from writer's block as well. So a little bit about me, just so you know why I'm here. I began in the 90s as a newspaper reporter, an award-winning reporter. It's where I honed my skills as a storyteller, a researcher, all those things that I still put to work in my marketing. Many people have called me an email marketing pioneer because in 2001, before most people had heard of email marketing, I started an email marketing software company called Marketable, email software to create, deliver, and track campaigns. And I ran that company for 19 years before I sold it in 2019. During my time at Marketvolt, I spent a lot of time working with my clients on how to create better story-powered, captivating content. And when I sold Marketvolt in 2019, I founded Story Power Marketing, and since then have founded the marketing tech division of Story Power called Implementum. And today I work as a coach, a teacher, a do-it-for-you consultant, a do-it-with-you guide for all things around content marketing. I'm going to start this presentation, the lesson, with a story, of course, about delegation. It's a story about actually an executive coach who hired me. But before she hired me, she had been writing blog posts and emails. And the first, she wrote one about delegation, because that's one of the things that she teaches her business owner clients, how to delegate properly. And the blog post she wrote was sort of a lecture that went something like this. Delegation is one of the most important skills that any business owner can master. When you delegate properly, your business runs more effectively. Here are 5 tips to delegate properly. Tip number 1, and on it went. And no one read this post. No one got to the bottom of the post. No one responded to the call to action to schedule a complimentary consultation with this business coach. And she felt frustrated and stuck and all of those things that I described earlier. And she called on me, and we began to go to work. And what we began to focus on, or let me debrief on that for a moment. The reason that nobody read the post is because it was just a bunch of blah, blah, blah information. And people who share their expertise with the world, people whose stock and trade is packaging their expertise for sale to serve clients, often suffer from this problem. They think that what they know is so valuable that if they just share what they know, if they share information, that people will line up to call and line up to hire them. And it simply doesn't happen that way, because information is not enough. You have to combine information with captivating storytelling, entertainment, infotainment. This is where, oops, wrong button. This is where storytelling and other creative content come in. Studies have shown that when you tell stories, that people are much better able to recall what you shared. Information delivered with stories is much better retained. Information delivered via stories builds trust and a sense of cooperation. Our brains literally release feel-good chemicals when we're told stories, and story-powered content inspires customers to buy more, pay at higher prices. There's so many studies to show this. I could do an entire science class on just the science of storytelling, but this is also true. Here's the story that we found when I began to dig deep with my my executive coach client. She told me about a business owner who never went on vacation. 20 years running a business. This guy never went on vacation except for a long weekend. And the reason he never went on vacation in 20 years of running his business is he feared that all heck would break loose if he went on vacation. He feared that things would fall apart. He feared that his employees would call while he was gone. He feared that he'd spend time mopping up messes when he returned. And the reason that was the case is because, of course, he hadn't learned how to delegate. Well, she taught him how to delegate, and all of a sudden, he was this guy that you see on the screen. He was the guy on the hammock on the beach at sunset, enjoying himself. And she told me about this guy as I probed and looked into, well, why is it that you teach delegation? What is it that transforms for your clients when they experience delegation? And what we ended up with was a post, an email with the subject line headline that was how a stressed out owner let go and got away. The previous post that I told you about, the information only post, the headline was something like delegation or dumping ? No one read that. But if you read the subject line, how a stressed out owner let go and got away, all of a sudden those stressed out owners whom she wants to work with are looking at that saying, oh, that's me. I'm stressed out. I want to let go. I want to get away. That's the journey I want to take. And now she has created a story that draws people in, that leads people to say, oh, how does that happen? Well, the way it happens, and it's a line in the story. What changed for this business owner? Delegation. Here are 5 tips. And now all of a sudden people are reading the tips because they can relate to the story, and they get to the bottom and the call to action, and they pick up the phone and they schedule a sales consultation. They don't think of it as a sales consultation. The coach does, but they get to the sales call. So there are a couple of principles, 3 core story power principles that are at work in the story. Number 1 is keep the focus on prospects' emotional journeys. This is not about me, sell, pitch, I'm such a great executive coach. This is about the prospect and the prospect's emotional journey from stuck to free, from stressed to relieved. Second, keep it human and personal. It's really difficult to tell a story that's not human, that's not personal. That's the beauty of storytelling. There are characters. There is a human and personal element to it if you're focusing on people and the journeys they take. And number 3, keep it simple. Oh boy. I know a lot of so-called storytelling coaches who are preaching these methods and systems for storytelling that are just so complex. You have to master all of the elements of the hero's journey, or storytelling is like a screenplay, and you have Luke and you have Yoda and you have conflict and you have resolution. And I know another guy who has a 9-step or 10-step system for creating story-powered emails and blog posts. And call me simple, but when I hear about 10-step systems or 9-step systems for creating an email, a story-powered email, I think we're talking about 6, maybe 7 too many steps. It just doesn't have to be so darn complex. Every story that I put out there, every story that my clients discover and that I help them produce is based on 4 things. It's based on a plan, a promise, a lesson, an anecdote, and a next step or next steps. Let's take a look at how a stressed out owner let go and got away. That was the story. Well, what's the promise? The promise is escape the hamster wheel, the journey from stress to relief, from stuck to unstuck. What's the lesson? Delegate. Don't try to manage and control everything. So the first post, the one that nobody read, all it was a lesson, a lecture. Hey, you have to delegate. And the promise was buried. But in this case, there's a clear promise implied right there in the subject line. How a stressed out owner let go and got away. That's a promise. Lesson, delegate. The anecdote is the story of the business owner, but it didn't have to be that anecdote. There are countless anecdotes that can deliver that promise and that lesson. And then the next step, schedule a free consultation. So in the case of this story, we began with the promise and the lesson. We knew that she's all about escaping the hamster wheel and the journey from stress to relief. We also knew the lesson that she wanted to share: delegate, don't try to manage and control everything. And that should be the case for most of you. Most of the time, you should understand, what are the promises that I'm making to my clients, and what are the lessons or the products or the services that I deliver to help them get there. Then we go and find the anecdotes. So here's an example of this from one of my emails. I wrote an email about why your life stories repel prospects and what to do about it. Well, what was the anecdote? I'm going to skip first to the anecdote. There's a guy who's struggling with his marketing and feeling frustrated, and he cries for help on a forum. I think it was on Reddit. He was saying, I'm sending all these emails where I tell stories about myself, and nobody is paying attention to my stories. What gives? I hear that storytelling is the way to go. Well, the promise is, my promise in my business is that you can go from that state of prospects aren't paying any attention to me, what's going on, I don't understand, go from that to, hey, prospects are tuning in and turning on and paying attention. That's one of the promises of my business. Okay. The lesson, I just shared it. Story power principle number 1, put the spotlight on the prospects, not on you. It's not all about me. Look how brilliant I am. Look at the lessons I teach about whatever. No, the promise is that journey from no one's paying attention to everybody's paying attention. The lesson is put the focus on the prospect's emotional journey. How did I deliver that promise and that lesson? By telling a story about a sad sack guy who was really struggling. It was a cautionary tale. Here's a guy who's doing it the wrong way, who's crying for help. And I share that anecdote to make the point that, no, there's a better way to do it. Those who read it see themselves in that guy. Yeah, I've been struggling too. I've been telling stories about myself and my dog and my, hobbies and whatever, and no one's paying attention. What gives? So they see themselves in the story, they absorb the promise and the lesson, and they go to the next step, attend my workshop. Now, what's interesting about this is I wrote that email not the same way that we did with the business coach. With the business coach, we said, let's start with the promise and the lesson. Now let's go look for an anecdote. And as I probed, she said, oh, I have a good story about this. I can tell you about a client of mine. In this case, I was simply going through marketing forums on Reddit or Quora or whatever. I came across this guy and I said, oh, this is an interesting anecdote that can serve as a vehicle to deliver. And I already know my promises and my lessons. And so I found the anecdote and added the promise and the lesson. Either way, it's an act of systematic assembly, not an act of creative magic. Back to Eugene Schwartz. So let's discuss, because the promise is so important, how do we discover the promise and the lesson? 3 E's, simple. Again, keep it simple. 3 E's. Number 1, empathize. Put yourself in your prospect's shoes. What are they feeling? They're feeling stuck. They're feeling frustrated. They're feeling like nobody's paying attention to me. They're feeling like they can't ever go on vacation, whatever it may be. What is it that they're feeling? Where are they now? Then envision. Some marketers talk about, put in the knife and agitate and make them feel as bad as possible, and they'll come crawling to you bleeding from the ribs. I'm not that kind of marketer. You have to help them envision the better way. It's not about wallowing in the mud with them and making them feel bad. It's about empathizing. And then it's about envisioning. Where do they want to go? Where do they want to be? That hammock on the beach, that feeling of relief, that feeling of lack of no stress, or in the case of the second post that I shared with you, that feeling that, wow, people are tuning in, people are paying attention. Envision what it means. And then be clear on how you enable that journey. That's where the lesson comes in. That's where delegation comes in. That's where teaching storytelling comes in. Those are the things that enable the product, the service, the lesson that's in your email. If you understand if you understand this 3E method and can empathize, envision, and then describe how you envision the journey from before to after, you have the pieces you need to deliver a promise and deliver a lesson. Then it's an exercise in going and finding the anecdotes. So, as I said, the story before, the owner is frustrated and stuck. That's the empathy piece. The envision, the owner feels liberated, gets away, is no longer stuck. The enable piece, how did he do it? Delegation, the promise and the lesson. Those are the two pieces. So how a stressed out owner, same thing, same framework: promise, lesson, anecdote, schedule a free consultation. We started with the promise and lesson, and we found the anecdote. So sum it all up: to create captivating, client attracting content, you have to discover the promise and the lesson. You have to understand that journey, and then you have to go find a lesson, a product, a service, a resource, something that you provide to underscore this idea that you can help achieve that journey. So couple of things about anecdote discovery. I already shared with you. Look at the 5th bullet down, Reddit. I, on a regular basis, go to places that my customers, my audience hangs out, and I listen to them. I find their stories. I go and I see what they're saying, what they're experiencing, and I often find great anecdotes that I can turn into stories. I wrote an email this morning where I was sharing a story that I got from Reddit about a guy who, this guy said, hey, I'm starting a business as a marketing consultant. I've actually launched my website as a marketing consultant, and I don't know how to find leads. And I use this as a cautionary tale to say, oh, you know what? You really should work with somebody who's proving their mettle, who can demonstrate to you that they know what it is that they're selling. And that was a way to, because you want to feel that sense of trust. So I've got off on a tangent here, sorry. But I found that on Reddit. Oops, sorry. Client and prospect experience. That's the business owner story. It can be a slice of life story. So this business coach, once she wrote that first piece, we talked about, well, what's the next email that you're going to write? A few weeks from now, you might want to promote the fact that you teach delegation again. How are you going to do it? And I asked her whether she had ever had an experience as an employee with a boss who was a lousy delegator or a great delegator. Oh, I have a great story about that. Another email where the promise might be the same, the lesson might be the same, the anecdote is different. So she can keep pounding home to her audience the idea that, hey, if you want to learn how to delegate, I'm your person. And actually what she's pounding home is, if you want to learn how to relieve stress and escape the hamster wheel. Another thing we did with a business coach is we said to ChatGPT, this is a little trick that's really valuable. We said to ChatGPT, hey, here's the promise. I'm a business coach, and my promise is to help business leaders escape the hamster wheel, go from stress to relief, so on and so forth. One of the ways I do that is by teaching how to delegate properly. Could you pull from books, movies, television, real life, whatever the case may be, examples of delegation done properly or delegation not done properly that show the consequences? And one of the ones that ChatGPT came up with is, in the movie The Devil Wears Prada, the main character doesn't delegate very well, and all these bad things happen as a result. And the business coach was like, I love that movie. I could so easily turn that into an email. Again, she had the promise, the lesson. She needed a little help to find an anecdote. ChatGPT helped. She turned that into an email, assembling the pieces. Okay. Books, movies, television shows, anecdotes are all over the place. Spam folders. I find all sorts of great cautionary tales in my spam folders. all sorts of different things. Quick note about AI: don't rely on the robots to be your ghostwriters. Bring the facts to AI. Tell AI, here's my promise, here's my lesson. Use AI to summarize things. Use AI to point you towards story examples. Don't use AI to be simply never ask AI, hey, what's my market thinking? Because AI doesn't really know, and AI will give you half answers. And so anyway, I shared that one example. We could go into the whole AI thing forever. Recap. You want to combine information and entertainment. You need to make your content infotaining. You have to keep the focus on prospects' journeys, keep it personal and human, keep it simple. Every great business story is built on a simple framework: plan, promise, lesson, anecdote, next steps. 2 ways to build a story. You could start with the promise and the lesson, or start with the anecdote and then go retrieve promises and lessons that you already know. Pardon me. To discover the promise of the lesson, you have to apply those 3 E's: empathize, envision, and enable. Develop systems and habits to find the anecdotes. So I have systems and habits. I routinely go to Reddit. I routinely check my spam folder. I routinely listen to and solicit feedback from my customers. I record calls and look for things that they say so that I can empathize and understand where they're coming from. So developing systems and habits, that's one of the things I really teach in some of my coaching programs. And then understand that AI is a great tool to help you find stories, but you have to be careful. You don't want to misuse the tool. Couple of things. You can email me, tom@storypowermarketing.com. I answer my emails. You're not going to get a reply, I'm Tom's assistant, and Tom is so glad that you emailed him, but you're never going to hear from him. No, I don't do that drill. Email me. I will reply. And you can sign up for my emails if you want to see someone practicing what he preaches and discover how to create infotaining email. storypowermarketing.com/email. And then, Lynn, I had a giveaway that I've forgotten the URL that I shared in last week's episode. You'll share it in the notes, or if you know off the top of your head, you can share it now. But I didn't want to give people the wrong URL, and in our rush to get started, I didn't have that handy. So, whew,
well, that works out just great, Tom. Thank you so much. And yes, I will drop the link for Tom's giveaway in the show notes, so everyone take a look for that there. And Tom, thank you so much. This was fabulous. And if anyone who watches, who's part of my weekly Wisdoms newsletter, you may have seen a little bit of an improvement because I've been working with Tom. So thank everyone who joined Tom and I for tuning in. You know, our purpose is for you to get more clients, and bottom line, don't make this harder than it has to be. Sales should be a win-win. Today, Tom explored what are effective processes for meaningful sales supporting content creation. Thank you so much, Tom, for being here. And you can also, if you want to learn more about my services at Petite to Queen, you can connect with me on our website. And to stay current on all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode, sign up for our weekly Wisdoms newsletter, which I write with Tom's formula now at petitetoqueen.com. Now, next week on Get More Clients, I am going to be discussing 7 tantalizing tidbits for client outreach and connectivity. Make sure you don't miss a single episode by subscribing to Get More Clients wherever you get your podcasts. And if you love the show, please share it and give us a 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate it. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And I will see everyone next week on Get More Clients.
Thank you, Lynn.